Mom's friends thought I was her daughter, and she played along. I never expected a summer break to change the way I saw myself. My name is Tyler, 18, freshly out of high school, socially awkward, and definitely not the kind of guy you'd find standing in front of a mirror trying on eyeliner or slipping into a floral dress. At least not until recently. I guess if you'd asked my classmates, they would have called me average. Tallish, a little skinny, the kind of person who disappears into the background. I had no interest in sports. I liked gaming, tinkering with electronics, and keeping to myself. But underneath that normal shell, I had a secret. I didn't exactly cross-dress often. I never even called it that. But since I was 13, I'd occasionally sneak into my mom's closet when she wasn't home, just to try on a pair of heels, maybe a blouse. It started out as curiosity, then fascination, then guilt. Always guilt. I convinced myself it was just a phase. I even told my girlfriend Emma about it once, half as a joke. She laughed, said, "That's hilarious. I could never picture you in heels." I laughed with her, but deep down her words stuck. She couldn't imagine me that way. Maybe no one could. Maybe I wasn't meant to. This summer, I was staying with my mom in her cozy townhouse in the suburbs. Dad had left years ago, and since then it was just the two of us. Well, when I wasn't off at school, she had always been understanding, not exactly open-minded, but warm. She worked from home, ran a small online boutique, and often had friends over for brunches and wine nights. Most of her friends were trendy, elegant women in their 40s, divorcees or power women who always wore high heels and left trails of floral perfume behind them. I hadn't seen many of them in years. It was a quiet Thursday when everything started. Mom had a last-minute emergency at her boutique and left the house in a rush. I was lounging in my room, scrolling on my phone when I noticed her closet door was open. Something about it. Maybe the breeze from the hallway or the faint scent of her perfume made me stand up and drift inside like I was in a trance. I knew it was wrong, but there hanging on the far side was a soft pastel sundress, pale pink, sleeveless, light fabric, perfect for summer. It looked new. I couldn't help myself. My fingers ran over the fabric, and before I knew it, I was pulling off my shirt and stepping into the dress. It slipped over my frame easily. A little loose at the waist, but surprisingly not bad. I glanced at the mirror. The boy was gone. I stood there, breath caught in my throat. The way the dress hugged my chest, the way it swayed just slightly when I moved. It felt like becoming someone else, someone softer, more confident, free. But then my eyes landed on the messy hair, the masculine face staring back. No makeup, no wig, just a guy in a dress. And that old guilt crept in again. Why did it feel so right? I hurried back to my room, heart pounding, and dug through the boxes I'd kept hidden under my bed. Old thrifted wigs, a couple of makeup kits Emma once gave me as a joke. I hadn't touched them in ages, but now it felt different, purposeful, like this wasn't a joke anymore. My hands trembled as I applied foundation, blush, mascara. It was amateur, clumsy, and uneven, but it softened my face enough. When I slipped the wig over my head, long honey blonde strands falling past my shoulders. I gasped. I looked like a girl. The rush was unreal. I twirled in front of the mirror. The dress floated around me. I smiled. Then the doorbell rang. I froze. Panic crashed over me like cold water. My mom wasn't supposed to be back for hours. Was it a package? A neighbor? My phone buzzed on the dresser. A text from Mom. "Hey, sweetie. Totally forgot to mention my friends Dana, Rachel, and Michelle are stopping by for brunch. Just let them in. I'll be back in an hour. Love you." My stomach dropped. They were here, and I was dressed like this. I turned toward the mirror. The girl staring back looked nervous, terrified, but undeniably alive. My heart pounded. I couldn't let them see me like this. I reached for the zipper at the back of the dress. Too late. The doorbell rang again, this time followed by soft voices and laughter. My breath caught. I tiptoed down the hallway, peeking through the curtain by the door. 3 women stood outside, stylish, sunglasses on, holding lattes and gift bags. Dana, Rachel, Michelle, and then one of them said, weird. She said her daughter would be here. Daughter? What? Before I could even think, my body moved on its own. I opened the door. 3 pairs of eyes locked onto me. Their smiles widened. You must be Tyler's sister. Rachel beamed. You're just as beautiful as your mom said you were. My mouth opened. Nothing came out. And then Dana stepped forward, arms outstretched. You look adorable, sweetheart. I didn't know Helen had such a stunning daughter. And before I could explain, before I could even breathe, I heard another voice from behind me. My mom. She had come home early. She looked at me fully dressed. Wig, makeup, sundress. Our eyes met, and she smiled. Girls, she said smoothly, wrapping an arm around my waist. This is my daughter. Isn't she lovely? My heart stopped. What was she doing? Why was she playing along? I didn't know. But in that moment, something in her voice told me this wasn't a joke. She meant it. And the worst part, a part of me liked it. My mom's arms stayed firm around my waist. Her body was warm, steady, reassuring, but I was frozen. The 3 women standing in front of me still wore those gleaming smiles. They saw me as something I wasn't, or maybe something I wasn't supposed to be. Come in, girls, Mom said, brushing past me smoothly as if this whole thing was normal, as if her son hadn't just been caught wearing a sundress and a wig. Rachel touched my hand gently as she stepped in. I absolutely love your hair. You have your mother's cheekbones, you know, I mumbled. Thanks, in a whispery voice, trying to sound smaller, softer. My heart pounded. I could barely breathe. My eyes darted toward Mom, silently, begging for an explanation. But she didn't give me one. Instead, she winked. Wicked. In a matter of seconds, I had become her daughter, and she wasn't correcting anyone. The women floated into the living room, setting down their handbags and sunglasses as if they owned the place. Their perfume lingered in the air, warm vanilla, citrus roses. I felt like I was in a completely different world, a feminine, soft, confusing world. Mom turned to me and whispered, "Play along." What? I hissed. Mom, what are you doing? She gave me a knowing look. Trust me, you're doing great, sweetheart. Sweetheart, she didn't even call me that when I was a kid. I should have said no. I should have run to my room and ripped off the dress and washed away the makeup. But something held me there. No, someone. Her. She had accepted it. Not just accepted, but embraced it. And somehow in the chaos and humiliation and fear, I felt something else bubbling under the surface. Something dangerously close to relief. The brunch was surreal. I sat on the edge of the white couch, legs tucked dearly to the side like I'd seen girls do in TV shows. Hands clenched around a mimosa. I couldn't drink. My voice barely rose above a whisper. I kept my chin down. Every laugh from the women felt like a dagger. I was sure they'd suddenly realize she's not a girl. That's Tyler in a dress. But no one said it. They talked about book clubs, weekend getaways, dating younger men. Dana showed us pictures of her new rescue dog in a pink sweater. Rachel asked if I'd considered modeling. I love your look, she said. Natural beauty. I smiled awkwardly, wondering what natural even meant when everything on me from the foundation to the wig was a lie. But Mom never corrected them, not once. She even said things like, she's shy. She just finished school, still figuring things out. I'm letting her help me with my boutique. She has an eye for style. It was like she created a whole new version of me, one where I was her daughter. After they left, I stood frozen in the hallway, staring at the door. My dress clung slightly to my back. I was sweating under the wig. What? I finally whispered. Was that? Mom closed the door gently and turned to me. Her eyes weren't angry. They weren't judgmental. They were curious. Why didn't you tell me, Ty? She asked softly. I didn't know what to say. I'd imagined this conversation 100 times. It always ended with yelling, with shame, with rejection, never with brunch. I didn't mean for that to happen, I said. I know, she replied, but it did. And you handled it beautifully. I shook my head. Mom, this isn't me. I just tried something on. I wasn't planning to be seen, she interrupted gently. Silence. Tyler, she said, putting a hand on my shoulder. You've always been thoughtful, quiet, gentle. That doesn't make you weak. And if dressing like this, if being this version of you makes you feel something, anything, I want you to explore that. Tears welled in my eyes before I could stop them. Mom, you looked happy today, she whispered. Happier than I've seen in a long time. I broke down right there, sinking onto the couch. The wig shifted slightly, and I yanked it off, revealing my messy brown hair beneath. I don't know who I am, I said, voice shaking. She sat beside me and pulled me into a hug. That's okay. You don't have to figure it all out now, but I want you to know I'm proud of you, no matter what you wear. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. The sundress hung over my chair. The wig rested beside it. I should have felt humiliated, but instead I felt exposed and weirdly safe. The mask I wore in public, Tyler, the quiet average boy, was fading. And in its place, someone else was starting to emerge. The next morning, I found a note taped to my mirror. Come down when you're ready. We're going shopping.
Mom.
I stared at the note for almost 5 minutes.
Shopping.
It didn't say, let's go get lunch or let's talk about yesterday. It said shopping for clothes. For me, I thought about ignoring it, pretending yesterday was a one-time accident. But something in me wanted to go, not because I needed new clothes, but because yesterday had cracked something open in me, and my mom, of all people, was reaching in to help. I showered, shaved carefully, and ran a brush through my hair until it looked half presentable. When I came downstairs in a loose hoodie and jeans, Mom looked me over and tilted her head. Sweetheart, we're going to find your style, she said brightly, grabbing her keys. But I think we both know you don't belong in that hoodie. The drive was quiet at first. I kept my arms folded, watching the summer trees blur by. My mom didn't press. She turned up the radio. Let me breathe. And finally, I asked, why didn't you say anything yesterday? Why play along? She smiled without taking her eyes off the road. Because I saw how scared you were, she said. But also how free you looked. I wanted to give you a moment where you didn't have to run and hide. I swallowed hard. You don't think it's weird? I think it's you. And I love you. She reached over and squeezed my hand. We didn't go to a big mall or some crowded boutique. Mom knew better than that. She took me to a small, privately owned shop tucked between a flower shop and a nail salon. The kind of place that smelled like lavender and soft leather with mannequins in pastel dresses and boho skirts. The woman behind the counter, Jules, greeted my mom like an old friend. And who's this? She asked, smiling at me. Mom didn't hesitate. This is my daughter. The word hit me like lightning. Not son, not child, daughter. I expected Jules to raise an eyebrow or look confused. Instead, she simply said, well, you're going to look stunning in anything we find today, sweetheart. And just like that, I became her. The next 2 hours felt like a dream. I tried on soft blouses with lace trim, flowing skirts that hugged my hips just right, cute rompers, summer dresses in every shade. Mom sat on a velvet chair outside the dressing room, giving feedback, adjusting straps, offering tips. Try this with a belt. It'll shape your waist. You've got good shoulders. Let's soften them with flutter sleeves. I'd never seen her like this. Excited, playful, like she was discovering a side of me she hadn't known existed. Maybe neither of us had. By the end, I was dressed in a light lilac wrap dress, nude flats, a delicate necklace Jules had gifted me. My hair was tucked behind my ears, a light touch of makeup on my face from the store's tester counter. Mom looked me over, then nodded in approval. You are glowing, she said. We should grab lunch. My treat. And she didn't say it, but I could tell she wanted to be seen with me like this. She was proud. Lunch was surprisingly normal. We sat on a sunny patio with iced teas and fruit salad, chatting about random things, but I couldn't relax because Emma hadn't texted back. I had messaged her that morning, just a casual, "Hey, how's your week?" But no reply. I stared at my phone, imagining 100 scenarios. What if she found out? What if she came to visit early? What's wrong? Mom asked gently. I hesitated. Then Emma, my girlfriend, she doesn't know about any of this. Mom sipped her tea.
Do you want her to?
I didn't answer right away. I don't know, I admitted. She joked about it once. Thought the idea was funny.
She'd freak if she saw me right now.
Then maybe she's not the one, Mom said calmly. That stung. I loved Emma. Or at least I thought I did, but I didn't even know who I was right now, let alone how to explain that to her.
She's just confident, I said.
And I'm not. I've always tried to be what she wanted. Mom reached across the table and took my hand. Then maybe it's time to figure out what you want. Back home, I didn't change out of the dress. For the first time, I stayed in it. I helped Mom fold laundry. I painted my nails. I even caught myself humming as I adjusted the strap of my flats. But then the doorbell rang again. I panicked. What if it was a neighbor? What if? Relax. Mom said it's probably Jules. She said she might stop by. But it wasn't Jules. It was Emma. I froze at the top of the stairs. She hadn't texted, hadn't called, just showed up like she used to when we were in high school. And everything was simple. I ducked back, heart racing, and listened. "Hey, Mrs. Monroe," she said cheerily. "Is Tyler around?" "Oh," Mom said, and I could hear the pause. "He's upstairs." Emma's voice was chipper. "Great, I'll head up." My heart stopped. Mom's voice lowered. "Actually, he's not feeling great. Maybe come back later." That was it. The warning. I heard Emma pause, confused. "Oh, okay. Is he okay?" Mom kept her tone calm. "He's just figuring things out." That said, everything and nothing. I stayed hidden until I heard the door close. When I came downstairs, Mom looked at me. Not angry, not upset, just serious. "She's going to find out eventually," she said. "I know," I whispered. That night, I stood in front of the mirror again. Same dress, same makeup, but a different feeling. This time, I didn't see a guy in a costume. I saw a girl. Scared, confused, but real. And for the first time, I whispered a name I hadn't said aloud in years. Lena. It had always felt like mine in a quiet, hidden corner of my heart.
Now it fit.
I stayed in my room most of the next day. It wasn't out of fear anymore, but confusion and anticipation. The mirror no longer scared me. I could sit in front of it now, applying mascara slowly, carefully, as if it mattered. I no longer saw Tyler in disguise. I saw Lena trying to live and maybe, just maybe, starting to breathe. But Emma's visit was a ticking bomb in the back of my mind. She hadn't texted again. She hadn't called. That wasn't like her. And yet she knew or suspected something. I could feel it in the air. I sat on my bed in denim shorts and a soft pink top Mom had bought me. My nails were still pale lavender, the same as the dress I wore 2 days ago. My phone buzzed.
"Emma."
"Hey, I'm coming over tonight. We need to talk." My stomach flipped. That afternoon, I tried to act normal. Mom watched me set the table in a sundress and light makeup. She didn't say anything at first. Then finally, "It's time." I nodded, barely able to swallow. "I know. Do you want me to stay? I think I need to do this alone." She gave me a long hug. "Whatever happens, I'm proud of you." When the doorbell rang at 7:12, my hands were shaking. I hadn't changed. I didn't want to. I needed Emma to see me. Not the version I'd performed for her, the real one. When I opened the door, she froze. Her eyes scanned me top to bottom. The sandals, the gloss, the body language. I didn't try to hide it. "Tyler," she said cautiously. I took a breath. "I go by Lena," I said softly. For a moment, she didn't say anything, just stared. Then she walked in slowly, closing the door behind her. "This is a joke, right?" I shook my head. "You're serious?" Another nod. Her laugh was sharp. "So what? This is your new thing now? You just wear my lip gloss and my clothes when I'm not around." "It's not yours," I said, trying to study myself. "This is who I am. Or, I'm starting to think it is." She looked at me like she didn't recognize me. "You never said anything, not once." "I was afraid," I whispered. "I didn't want to lose you." And now I looked her in the eye. "I don't want to keep lying." Emma's jaw clenched. She paced the living room, then turned on me. "You know what this makes me feel like? Like I've been dating a stranger. Like everything we had was just a cover for this." "No, Emma."
"Don't."
"I'm trying to understand."
"I really am."
"But I don't know who I'm supposed to be mad at. You or me?" That stung more than I expected. She sat down, burying her face in her hands. So, what does this mean for us? I don't know, I said honestly. I still love you, but I don't want to keep hiding. She stared at me again, really looked, and then almost imperceptibly, her eyes softened. I need time, she said, getting up. I'm not saying no. I just need time. She paused at the door. I liked the old you, but maybe you were never him to begin with. And she left. I stood there for a long time. I didn't cry.
Not yet.
Because I felt both broken and a lighter, like a piece of armor had finally cracked. The next few days passed in a blur. I stopped dressing for anyone else. I wore what I liked: skirts, tank tops, rompers. I did my makeup in the morning without apology. Mom smiled at me like she knew Lena had always been there. But Emma didn't call, and that silence hurt. Then came the real twist. It was Sunday morning. I was sitting on the porch with Mom, drinking iced tea, when I noticed a car pull up, a red Lexus. Dana, my mom's friend. She stepped out in a smart blazer and jeans carrying a folder. Hey, she called out, waving. Mom stood. Dana, didn't expect you today. She smiled politely. Then her eyes landed on me and narrowed. She walked closer, staring hard. Wait a second, she said slowly. Is that your daughter? Mom glanced at me. I gave the tiniest nod. Dana tilted her head. You know, I was talking to Rachel and Jeanette after brunch. We couldn't remember you ever mentioning a daughter before. My pulse spiked.
She's shy.
Mom replied coolly and private. Dana laughed. No kidding. Because when I went on Facebook, I saw something interesting. A boy named Tyler in your old photos. Looks just like her. Silence. Cold.
Hard.
Dana stepped closer. Want to explain that? At that moment, the wind picked up. My hair blew across my face, and my hand instinctively brushed it back. The gesture, the delicacy of it, wasn't something Tyler would have done, but Lena would, and I didn't stop myself. I'm her daughter, I said, voice shaking but proud. My name is Lena. Dana looked me up and down. That's quite the trick.
It's not a trick, I said.
It's the truth. She didn't respond, just stared, then turned to my mom. I hope you know what you're doing. Mom didn't flinch. I do. Dana left without saying goodbye, and I collapsed into a chair, heart pounding. Mom sat beside me and took my hand.
She's going to talk, I said.
She already did, Mom replied. But that's not your fault. I just wanted one thing that was mine, I whispered. And now it is, she said. You've made it real. For the next few days, the air felt heavier. It wasn't just Dana. Word had spread. Rachel and Jeanette stopped messaging Mom. Neighbors we usually waved at now gave awkward half-smiles. Even the mailman looked unsure whether to say miss or sir. But the worst silence was Emma's. I checked my phone 100 times a day. Nothing until Wednesday. That's when I got the text. Emma, I need to talk to you today at the boardwalk for PM. My hands trembled as I read it. The boardwalk was public, crowded, no hiding behind bedroom doors or whispered conversations. She wanted to see me as Lena, in the open. I spent nearly an hour deciding what to wear. Every outfit felt like a declaration. Too girly, too casual, too fake. I settled on something soft. White blouse, high-waisted jeans, nude flats, a little lip gloss, a little mascara. Enough to feel like Lena, but not like a caricature. When I walked into the living room, Mom smiled, but said nothing. Just handed me her favorite sun hat. It suits you, she said. I hugged her like I might never again. At the boardwalk, people bustled past me. Strollers, skateboards, ice cream vendors. I stood near the railing, watching waves crash. My heart pounded louder than the surf. Then I heard her voice behind me. I almost didn't recognize you. I turned. Emma stood there in her hoodie and jeans, hands stuffed in her pockets. She looked at me with a complicated expression. Part curiosity, part pain, part something softer. You look different, she said. I smiled nervously. I feel different. We stood in silence a moment. Then she said it. Do you want to tell me everything? We walked together along the pier. I told her how it started. The curiosity, the stolen moments, the guilt, how I felt more honest as Lena than I ever did as Tyler. She listened without interrupting. Finally, she stopped and turned to face me. So, where does that leave us? I hesitated. I don't know. I still love you, but I understand if this is too much. She didn't answer right away. Then slowly she reached out and tucked a strand of my hair behind my ear. You're still you? She whispered. But I need to know something. What? If you could go back. Never put on the dress. Never tried the makeup, would you? I shook my head. No, because that's when I started being honest. She nodded slowly. Then I guess I need to decide if I can love the real you. That's when I heard it.
Tyler.
A male voice. Behind us. I froze. Emma turned too, brows furrowing. Standing 10 feet away was Chris, one of my old classmates from high school. We hadn't spoken in over a year. He looked at me, then Emma, then back at me. His eyes widened. No way, he said, laughing. Tyler, is that really you? My heart thundered. Chris stepped closer, pointing. Man, what the hell are you wearing? You serious right now? People were starting to glance over. Emma stepped in. Back off, Chris. But he didn't stop. Are you too? Is this like a prank? Halloween early? I said, back off. Emma snapped louder.
He scoffed.
Whatever. Just saying. People are going to talk. This is messed up. Then he laughed loud and cruel and walked away muttering something about freaks. I stood there frozen. My eyes burned. Emma reached for my hand, but I pulled away. I need to go, I whispered. Lena, wait. I'm sorry, I said, turning and walking fast down the pier, trying not to let the tears fall. I didn't make it far before stopping at the edge of the boardwalk. There was a shop window, one of those boutique places with hanging jewelry and pastel dresses. I looked into the glass. For a moment, I saw both of me, Tyler and Lena, superimposed in that reflection. The same eyes, the same soul, just wrapped in different layers. My hands shook as I pulled off the sun hat. The wind picked up, and in that instant, a sudden gust blew it out of my hands. The hat tumbled away down the boardwalk and into the street, gone. I didn't chase it because I knew deep down I wasn't hiding behind hats or borrowed names anymore. I was Lena now, even if no one else understood it yet. I got home before Mom. The silence inside the house felt heavier than ever. I walked to my room, sat on my bed, and looked at the makeup scattered across my vanity. The lipstick, the lashes, the wig on its stand, and then another voice. Lena. I turned sharply. Emma, standing in the doorway. She hadn't given up. I was scared, I said. She nodded.
So was I.
She walked in, sat beside me. We sat in silence for a moment. Then I still don't know where this leaves us, she admitted. But I know I want to understand. I looked at her. Even after today, especially after today. She reached for my hand. I held it tightly, just as I thought I might breathe again. Another sound echoed from downstairs. The front door opening. Footsteps. Voices. Multiple. I stood up panicked. Emma followed me into the hallway. Then we saw them, Dana, Rachel, and Jeanette standing just inside the house. All of them staring. Mom stood behind them, arms folded. Rachel's eyes widened at the sight of me. Dana smirked. Well, looks like the rumors were true. Jeanette pulled out her phone. This is something. Emma stepped protectively in front of me. Take one more picture, she said coldly. And I'll make sure it's your last one. But I stepped forward. No more hiding. I'm Lena, I said softly. And if you can't handle that, you don't belong in this house. Mom nodded behind me, proud. The women exchanged glances, mocking, judgmental. Then Dana said, We'll see what the rest of the town thinks. They walked out, leaving silence behind. Emma and Mom stood on either side of me. My hands were trembling because I knew the storm was coming. That night, I couldn't sleep. The whispers, the looks, the threats, they all buzzed in my head like angry bees. I lay in bed in my soft pink pajama set, staring at the ceiling. The mascara still smudged under my eyes from earlier tears I hadn't bothered to clean. The house felt quiet, too quiet. Emma had stayed for dinner, but left soon after. She gave me a long hug and whispered, You're braver than I ever knew. Then she kissed my cheek. Light, gentle, but not a promise.
Just something to hold on to.
Now it was just me and the fallout. The next morning, I didn't recognize the silence. No knock for Mom. No breakfast clatter, just cold air and tension. When I padded into the kitchen, I found her at the table, phone in hand, eyes red. She looked up at me. "Lena," she said, her voice trembling. "I think they posted it." My stomach dropped. "What?" She turned the phone so I could see. There it was. Dana's Instagram post. A photo of me from the living room. Frozen mid-step in my denim skirt and cream blouse. Caption: "Guess what Tyler's into now?" Flushed face ribbon. Hundreds of likes, dozens of comments, some laughing, some disgusted, some saying much worse. I couldn't breathe. "We can take it down," I said quickly. Panic rising. "We'll report it. Get it flagged." Mom shook her head. "Even if it goes down, it's out there. It's been screenshotted, shared God knows where." I sank into the chair, burying my face in my hands. Everything I was afraid of, it was happening. But worse than fear was the shame. Not for being Lena, but for not being strong enough to face it without falling apart.
Just then the doorbell rang.
We both jumped. I stood quickly, heart racing. "Don't answer it. What if it's them again?" But Mom already moved. She opened the door. Standing outside wasn't Dana or Rachel. It was Emma. And beside her, her mom. Emma's mom had never been fond of me. Not in an overt way, but in that stiff, polite kind of way. She always saw me as some kind of distraction from Emma's potential. Now she was here looking me up and down, taking in the smooth legs, the pink robe, the painted nails, her expression unreadable. "Good morning," she said tightly. "Hi," I whispered, throat dry. I saw the photo. I braced for it. Judgment, shame, maybe even some awful line about how I was ruining her daughter. But instead, she sighed and said, "Emma told me everything, and while I don't understand it, I want to." That nearly broke me. Emma smiled faintly beside her. "Told you she'd come around." We all sat together, and for the first time the story was told without shame. I explained how Lena wasn't a joke or a dare. How it was never about tricking anyone. How this version of me, soft-spoken, gentle, expressive, had been hiding for years. Her mom listened, asked questions, some awkward, some careful, and when she left, she looked at me and said, "Just be safe. People can be cruel." And I nodded because I knew that already. Later that afternoon, I got a text. "Unknown number. Thought you should know. They're planning something. Be careful." No name. No hint. Just that. I showed Mom. She frowned. "You think it's about the post?" "Maybe," I said, but I knew it was more. Something was building. That night, just before bed, I walked to the mirror. I'd showered off the makeup, taken off the earrings, but Lena was still there in my eyes, in the way I stood, in the way I no longer tried to hide my softness. And yet, a chill ran through me because for the first time, Lena wasn't just